What's happening, Mr. Abe Safa? Welcome
What's
back.
up, Brendon? Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. How was last your trip?
It was nice.
It must
I
have
got a
been
little, I
productive
got a
because
little, I got a little tan.
I was gonna say you look like you got some sun.
I did. Puerto Rico was nice.
Yeah. So you come back in the week is winding down, and tomorrow is hard to believe. When we were talking earlier, it's hard to believe tomorrow is July 1st. Half of the year is gone already.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, so we're talking about mid-year adjustments. This is a if I think I know you look at your numbers all the time. I probably don't look at them as much as you do, but probably more than some people. And if there was going to be a time that you need to take a little bit of a pause tomorrow at some point or over the weekend, I know it's a holiday weekend coming up, but this is the time to look at what's going on up to this point in the mid-year, because we want to talk about where are you at, and until you know where you're at up to date, you can't make any changes. So what's your routine, or just tell me kind of what, when you get to June 30th like we are today, what are you thinking about for the second half of the year?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on. It's like, okay, where am I right now is the first thing I'm looking at. So I'm looking at where am I as far as goals. I'll look at my numbers. I'll look at my number of listings taken, which is usually the goal I focus on the most. To me, I feel like, okay, if I get the listings, then the transactions will come. So typically it's a listing goal for me. So this is the time where I'm really looking at where am I relative to what the year goal is, and where am I supposed to be halfway through the year. And now I typically do this once a month, right? Actually twice a month. So I'm looking at it, I learned a few years back, I think it was Tony DeCello that mentioned it. He calls it the 15th protocol. So in my calendar, on the 15th of every single month is the 15th protocol, which is a time for me to sit back and evaluate, okay, where am I halfway through the month? I think halfway is a critical point because there's still plenty of time to make up any shortages that you're feeling for the month. So this is something I do at the 15th of the month, and I do it at the end of the month to get ready for the next month. So it's no different every quarter, halfway through the year. So right now, going into July 1st, I'm 100% looking at the numbers real close to see where I am.
Yeah. So I like that concept of doing it a couple of times, because this is all about avoiding surprises. Like the year's going to end the way the year's going to end as a result of whatever you did through the year. That's how it's going to happen for all of us. But the difference is you can end the year and have multiple chances to make adjustments and actually know, wow, I'm trending up. All right, let's put the more gas to it and see what I can do and surpass my goals. Or I'm a little bit behind and make adjustments to catch back up. But if you don't do this, then you just are going to end up with whatever you get. In ending up with whatever you get without any focus on it is always, I would make the statement that it's always going to be less than somebody who is thinking about, this is the goal, this is what I go after. Just the fact that you've stated it, said this is what I want to do, and made a couple adjustments is going to get you more business than if you're like, well, I finished the month, where am I at? Right?
Yeah. And usually it's not a surprise, Brendon. I mean, people usually know if they're behind.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
You kind of know, but the process of actually sitting down and looking at the numbers kind of makes it real, right? You can't just kind of ignore it.
Is it because it's real then that, like, if I close my eyes and I don't look at the number, something is magically going to change the number? Is it as simple as that? Because I get that. I mean, I think I've done that before on different things where it's like, I don't want to look at that.
Yeah, if you don't see it, it's not real. I think that's part of it. Another part of it is we're still thinking subconsciously, we're still thinking, oh, there's plenty of time. There's still 6 months. I can get caught up. And it's a lot tougher to get caught up than people really think it is. So I think the fact of just going through the process of sitting down and actually look at the numbers, like, wow, I'm really behind. And then you have time to make real adjustments instead of just these crazy thoughts in your mind that, okay, I'll get caught up next week, next month, and all of a sudden the year is over. You make those adjustments today. So starting the 1st tomorrow, you're on a new path, new goal.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the other thing too is like we're so results, and I think sometimes we kind of present that too. It's so results driven that we get caught up in looking at the results and then feeling like either way too good about them or feeling way too bad about them. And this review that you do is literally just a snapshot. It's not something that, I'm ahead of my goal, so now let's spend 3 weeks celebrating how awesome I am. And it's not like I'm behind on my goal, so now let's feel like I haven't done anything for the year. It's just look, see where you're at, and then go back to changing your process. Like you don't the results, you shouldn't be looking at the results and seeing yourself as a hero or a zero where you're at. Focus on the actual process and the results just show up. This is just the time to check in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we look at our numbers.
Yeah, that's number one. That's like if you're flying a plane, right? You're looking to make sure you're still on track, right? You're making sure you're on the right path before you get there. Yeah. So first one is look at your numbers. Number two, if you don't have numbers, which a lot of people don't, really consider tracking your numbers. Like besides, we're not talking about just like, look, I want to do 50 transactions this year, 20 transactions. We're talking about, okay, if you want to do 20 transactions, what do you have to do on a daily basis to make sure you get 20 transactions? Okay, whatever those activities are, whatever things you have to do, the number of contacts, the number of appointments, whatever it is you want to calculate to get there, those are the things that we're talking about. It's being very clear on what daily activities are necessary for you to hit that end result, and then making sure that you're tracking them on a daily basis. So this is the one area where I'm really surprised that a lot of agents don't even do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would say on that, like I know I could ask a lot of people, tell me what your contacts and appointments were on Monday, April 4th. And you'd be like, okay, Monday, April 4th, and it was this many. Listen, if you're listening to this or you see this and you go, you know what, I don't have a lot of numbers. You may not have everything, you may not have every single day, but you know how many deals you've done, you know what you did the first 6 months of the year to get those numbers. You might not find exact ratios, but you're going to know, all right, I came in and I probably really spent maybe 45 minutes making contacts most days. Just up that number. Like instead of 45, let's do 90 or let's do 60. Just, you may not have the exact numbers of what you've done up the last 6 months, but don't let that be excuse of, well, I can't make any adjustments until we get to December because I didn't have any numbers this year. That is just going to perpetuate the problem. And the other thing with numbers is it's only going to take you about 30 days and then you're going to develop the habit. You don't do it right now because you're just not in the habit of it. It's just not part of your day. If you spend 3 weeks doing it, it will become part of your day. And then when you don't do it, you'll be like, oh, I've got to go back and you're going to miss maybe a day here. You go back and get them. And it's going to create this whole new world for you in 6 months from now. So I think that recommit, don't use that as a excuse. I can't get to, any changes because I didn't track anything this first half of the year. You know what you've done and you know what your results were. So now we can increase it.
Yeah, you're too easy. I think they should track every number every day.
Well, sure.
But if you haven't, start now.
People haven't. Yeah.
I mean, it's so easy. I mean, I've got, if you don't know where to start and don't have anything to do or to use, hit me up on Facebook. I'll send you two things. I'll send you, number one, a daily tracker where it just literally, you put a check mark next to a contact, you put a check mark next to an appointment, and that's it. You put a check mark if you take a listing. Very simple. And then you take those. I'll send you a second file, which is a spreadsheet. You plug those numbers into that spreadsheet every day. It literally takes you 5 seconds to do. And then it's going to calculate some formulas for you that tells you what your contact to appointment ratio is, what your contact to appointment ratio. It tells you all these things. So then when you're doing these mid-month or mid-year calculations and look at your numbers, you know where the weaknesses are. Like you'll know that if you talk to 75 people, it's taking you 75 conversations to sell one appointment, that's the area you got to work on. If you're taking 10 appointments but only getting one listing, then that's the area you got to work on. So I can send those to you. Just hit me up on Facebook. I'll gladly send you those two things. But just start tracking something so you can make some adjustments if needed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I think there's probably a misconception that the numbers are just, well, that's just to hand somebody and then they can tell me I'm not talking to as many people as I can. And that's not the case. It's actually insight into, when you look at those, you can find out you're talking to a lot of people, not setting appointments. Okay, we have an issue in the conversation on the phone. You're setting a lot of appointments, not getting listings. You have an issue with your listing presentation. It's the insight into everything that you've done up to that point, and now where do you want to focus your skill training and some of your systems, and how to be more effective and actually converting your leads.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I only track 4 numbers. Like, I track the number of contacts I make, the number of emails I take that get added to my database, the number of listing appointments I set, and the number of listings taken. So literally just 4 numbers. But with those 4 numbers, I'm coming up with 4 or 5 different ratios that tell me exactly what needs improvement. So you don't have to, it's not like you got to sit there and have this whole really expansive spreadsheet of every single thing that you do. How many breaths you take in a day. Right? It's just 4 numbers that need to be tracked.
Yeah. Perfect.
All right. Number 3. Next is, of course,
make adjustments. So this is where you have 2 options. You look and see, I'm on track, I'm off track, whatever the case may be. This is where you have to decide, all right, what am I doing for the rest of the year? How am I adjusting? So if you're ahead of the game, and ahead of the game doesn't necessarily mean ahead of where you were last year. Because if you're up, let's just say you're up in production 5% to last year in transactions or volume or anything else, but the market is up. This is a great example in today's market. You're up at 5% in volume from last year. You're like, awesome. But then you look at the market, and the market is up 15% in volume. Then you might actually be behind because you're not meeting what the market increase is, or the same with sales and transactions. So you want to look and see, where are you at relative to where you're supposed to be this year, and then make the adjustments going into the second half of the year. If you're behind, then you've got a choice. And I would suggest that the choice that you make, if you want to actually increase your business and your production year over year, is don't fall in the trap of adjusting your goal down because of stuff that you didn't do the first half of the year. So if you're off track and you're, I wanted to do 30 deals for the year, and right now I'm sitting at 14. And I know that things fall off in my market a little bit in the fourth quarter. So I'm actually a little bit less than halfway where I need to be going into this time of year. Don't adjust your goal down to 26. This is what we're trying to go after. Adjust your activities to meet the goal on what you need to do for the second half of the year. Don't take the easy way out and just adjust the goal down. That's what most people, they default to, because they look and they say, well, I don't know how to change it. I'm already behind, and it's going to take too much to catch up. It really doesn't take a lot to catch up if you make the right adjustments. And the right adjustments are all going to be in what you do on a daily basis.
Yeah, this is a big one. I think you're spot on. Adjust your activities, make more contacts, just solves just about every single problem that's out there. Now, this is extremely important in this kind of market when the market's shifting, right? Mm-hmm. So if you've been tracking your numbers for 6 months, a year, a couple of years, you've got a benchmark, right? So you know how many contacts it typically takes to get a listing. Okay. Now, all of a sudden, it's taken probably 20, maybe even 30% more contacts. You got to talk to that many more people to get the same number of listings. So if you haven't been tracking numbers and you haven't figured that out, take our word for it. Okay. In this market right now, it's taken more attempts to get the same results. Okay. But without you tracking your numbers, it's really difficult to see. So what ends up happening is, how does it show up? It shows up in frustration. It shows up like, man, I'm not getting anywhere. So even if you're doing the same activities you've been doing, not getting the same results right now, you can't figure out what it is.
Yeah.
Right. So this is really important to start tracking numbers right now. Take our word for it that whatever you've been doing, if you want the same business, up your activity by 25 to 30%, you should have the same results. If you want to grow your business, then you got to really increase your activity.
I was actually going to say the same exact number, like between 25 and 30% at minimum, if you're on track. So if you're on track so far this year and you want to stay on track for the second half of the year, your contacts minimum 25 to 30% increase, because both buyers and sellers up to this point, last 18, 24 months, we've had a lot of opportunistic buyers and sellers. So people that were, they were motivated, but they were motivated by what was going on in the market. And now the people that are on the buying end are going to really have to be motivated to buy because there's some headwinds that they're dealing with. There's interest rates. There's a lot of different things that may say, you know what, maybe I just hold off for a while. And they may buy eventually, but those were the people who were like, I know I can't hold off. When something comes up, I got to buy it and I've got to come in strong. Like that's a huge difference in the mentality of what the buyers are experiencing right now. So you've got to adjust for that. And the sellers, a lot of people that were, if they were going to reposition, they looked and said, can I go wrong here? I'm selling at a great price and I really don't want to buy in a high market, but shoot, December 2021, interest rates 3%. I can't really go wrong. That's kind of free money. So they were making the move. Now they look at it and say, if I got to get a mortgage, do I really need to reposition out of this property into another one? And there's going to be some of those people that if market trend or if the market conditions hadn't changed, they'd be an easy, quick conversion. Now they're going to pause. So you're going to have to make up for both buyers and sellers. You're going to have to make up for some of those conversations. Otherwise, you're going to get 60, 90 days down the road, then look and go panic mode because you're not converting what you thought you were. And by that time, you're probably 60 days away from correcting it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Lastly, can't go anywhere without accountability, right? So yeah, I mean, every one of us can make a New Year's resolution. Any one of us can make a change, but doing it day in and day out and consistently, it gets tough, right? Even the best of us with the most willpower, with the most discipline, we all have our challenges. So setting up some sort of accountability, find an accountability partner, get in a group or whatever it needs to be, and look, share your goals. Say, look, this is what my goals are. This is what I'm committing to for the next 90 days. And get 2, 3, 4 people in with you and set up some severe accountability and do it together. You'll find that you'll get there a lot easier with a little bit of support.
Yep. And simple things, it doesn't have to be long drawn out. I hear a lot of people in our offices where they've got accountability partners and right before 8 o'clock, they're either talking or texting. All right, how many contacts are you going to make today? And that's literally the easiest and one of the most effective forms. You and I, we've got to talk. And before we start for the call, before we start for our day, we got to tell each other what we're committed to. And we got to check in when it's finished. And then that's it. And, those people that are doing something as simple as that are going to be way further ahead in the activities they choose to put on that accountability list than somebody that just shows up and they're kind of behind the scenes and nobody's really watching and they get to kind of skate through.
Yeah. Easy to cheat when no one's watching.
That's it. Put the mirror in place.
All right, Brendon, enjoyed it. Thank you all for watching.
Exciting first half of the year and look forward to the next 6 months. Hard to believe, but we'll start July tomorrow morning, just like everybody else.
Before you know it, the year will be over.
Yep. Cool.
All right. Well, have a good afternoon. Thank you all.
You too.
Bye-bye.